There can be many red cars out in the parking lot, and if I tell you to go get a red car, well, you can go get any red car. But if we're talking before that, and I'm saying, well, gee, there's a Ford out there, it's a red car, that's mine, and here's the keys, and maybe I'll ask you to go get it for me sometime. And then I say or write, or it's emphasized next time I see it, oh, go get that red car. And I capitalize red. That means it's red, but it's a particular red car that you already know what that is. Therefore, you go out and you get the Ford, red Ford, and you bring it back to me. That's how you know that is a specific Ford red car. Specific red car, which is a Ford. And that's what they did when they wrote people, because they wanted to be specifically sure that it meant them, the 75 people that signed the Constitution, and not everyday common man on the street, which then they would have taken the capital P out and replaced it with a small p, meaning everybody.
Yeah, but Pat, Patrick Henry knew this, and yet he still signed on?
Yeah.
All right. What do we think about Patrick Henry?
Patrick Henry was a lawyer.
Above all other things, huh?
Right.
So, in other words, those characters...
In other words, he was telling people, hey, you're getting screwed, but I'm a lawyer, and I have first allegiance to the crown, to the court, and I'm telling you, people, but this is the way it's going down, but I have to sign off on it.
So the founding fathers, the original politicians down there, were basically securing their own butts.
Exactly.
So then what in the heck difference was it really than being... We never did get rid of the king.
No, that's what I say. That's what I wrote in the book. We never, and that's why Montgomery said, we never got rid, we never won the war, and like Montgomery pointed out, if you win a war, like we did in World War II, and MacArthur went over, and on the battleship, they signed the treaty, and he dictated all the parameters, and Japan couldn't have armed services. They had to give up their guns and all this stuff, right? Well, how come during the Revolutionary War when this happened, and we won, why did the king dictate the Treaty of Peace? Why did they keep the armed soldiers on this land all the way up to 1812 if they won the war in 1776?
Well, let me ask you: did those troops hang around long enough for the battle of for the War of 1812?
Yeah.
They were. And then this must mean from the time in between. I mean, you're not going to have the same soldiers in the outfit. That's too many years.
They're constantly changing, just like we changed over in Vietnam or Korea. Look how long it's been since, 1953?
Okay.
And the soldiers are constantly being changed on the guard over there for the demilitarized zone, the DMZ.
All right, so we have...
38th parallel or something like that?
So we have American citizens watching soldiers disembark from the ship to be stationed in their country.
Yeah, same thing.
So what was, in a nutshell, what was the whole idea of the War of 1812?
To start another war, which when you have in international law, when you have a treaty between two countries, and one of those countries starts a war all over again, it negates the treaty. Nothing is in the treaty. That's why they had the 1792 treaty in the interim to make sure that things were going back in the 1783 treaty that the king couldn't really sign off on. And then after the 1812 war, when they destroyed a lot of the documents in Washington, what cropped up next was the secret treaty of Verona in 1822.
And you know about that.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was what over there. The signatories said we're not going to have this Republican rebellion spirit on this side of the pond.
Right.
And the Vatican was involved in that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right. So that was it then, huh?
Yeah.
They had to vacate the old treaty, begin a new one.
They had to vacate the old treaty, and then when they vacate the old treaty, guess what it reverts back to? The original treaty before that. Now, how many people know what the original treaty was?
What was it?
the Virginia Charter of 1602.
That's the first. That's it. That's the first.
And that meant that all the colonies were back under the control of the crown. Now the states, they're called states now, but they're under control of the crown, and that's it. Bottom line.
Now,
see, now if you don't know this and how to research going all the way back and do this, you don't have the foundation to where you're operating today. And you wonder, why is this happening?
Sure.
Why are we being controlled? Why are we losing all our freedoms? It's a slow process because the international people look hundreds of years down the road where the American people look past the end of their nose. Well, next week we're going to do this. I don't know what we're doing next month.
And this is like another whole show. I mean, it's just amazing. But we always felt that the falling out that England had with the Vatican over Henry VIII really wasn't a falling away from the church. And so, can we also assume, well, let me just ask you, do you believe that perhaps by the time of the, 18th century into the early 19th century, that the Vatican had been using England perhaps as one of its agents over here?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course...
And the same as France and the same as Spain because they were all controlled by the Vatican.
Right.
The Jesuits was hell-bent, and their main goal was to, anywhere a republic was started, they had to go in and destroy it. Which they did. They went to Brazil. They went to Argentina. Way back before this country was formed into what it is, to stop them from being a republic. You can find this in documented form in the Rockefeller and their Gold Corner by Emmanuel Josephson. Was printed in 1946.
Okay. Hey,
it's really convoluted, and the poor American people are out there saying, well, how can they do this? How can they do that? Well, gee, just go back and look at contract international law, and you got it.
Well, in the time that we have left, this is the reason for this last show. Well, I mean, the reason we wanted to discuss about this, because it would be the last show, and that is folks wanted to know how in the world did this ever happen, and that's what we're talking about today.
Right.
And now we're so far removed from all this layers, of subterfuge and such, that it's, I mean, I can understand myself when some people go, you know what, I don't want to know about this. Let me put my head back in the ground and what difference is it going to make in my life? And I'm not even going to argue that with them.
Because that's true. I mean, that's the mentality. Because just this morning when they were talking about the driver's license and about those people in Baltimore that got stopped for asking directions and thrown in jail.
That'll teach you.
I mean. Yeah, you can fight it. Like, okay, my daughter-in-law got a ticket through the mail from Virginia. I think it was Washington D.C. One of these cameras.
Yep.
Speed cameras. Now she wasn't there. She wasn't driving the car. She loaned her car, right? So she got the ticket, and it was $100, and she could pay it, and there's no fine. I mean, there's no points on her driver's license or nothing like this, right? And it showed the picture of the car. You couldn't see who was in it. And she paid it, okay? And I just happened to notice when I got the mail for her the other day that there was a notice in there as a failure to pay, but she had paid it. They crossed in the mail, okay? And she says, why would I go out and get $400 for a lawyer to fight it, $100? I'm going to be out $300. I don't have it.
Yeah.
So I pay it.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody, does. And that's how they make their money.
Well, it gets one step weirder, too, and I'm sure you're aware of what took place up in Connecticut when the fine print told a car rental leasor that he had GPS in the vehicle, and if he went over the speed limit, he would be duly ticketed. And so what he found out is he got like 2 or 3. But the interesting thing was it wasn't a law enforcement agency that collected it. It was a private company.
Yeah.
That's even more scary, I think.
Right.
So and then let's go into this last thing if we could. A lot of people argue about this. We've touched upon it, but if we could one more time, in the time that we have, the reality of what law we, the Kerns, are under when we go into a court. We talk a lot about common law, civil law, admiralty, maritime, UCC. You want to just kind of segment that out so it's clear to folks?
Well, the bottom line is it's contract law. It's under maritime in an admiralty court. They merged admiralty, equity, got rid of common law, and I have some court cases that I just found that defines the fact that we don't have no more common law. I don't have them. They're so new to me. Red Ford, and you bring it back to me. That's how you know that is a specific Ford red car. Specific red car, which is a Ford. And that's what they did when they wrote red car. And I capitalized red. That means it's red, but it's a particular red car that you already know what that is. Therefore, you go out and you get the Ford. There can be many red cars out in the parking lot, and if I tell you to go get a red car, well, you can go get any red car. But if we're talking before that, and I was saying, well, gee, there's a Ford out there that's rapeable, because they wanted to be specifically sure that it meant them, the 75 people that signed the Constitution, and not everyday common man on the street. Red car that's mine, and here's the keys, and maybe I'll ask you to go get it for me sometime. And then I say or write, or it's emphasized next time I see it, oh, go get that